1. The Clinton-Epstein testimony, what really happened behind closed doors. For the first time in years, one of the most powerful men in American political history sat down under oath and answered questions he has been dodging for decades. Bill Clinton, the 42nd President of the United States, a man whose name appears over and over again in the most disturbing criminal investigation of our generation, the Jeffrey Epstein case, and what he said and what he refused to say tells us everything. Let's go inside that room. The location was Chappaqua, New York, a quiet, leafy suburb, the kind of place where powerful people go to disappear from public life. But there was no disappearing on this day. Clinton walked into a closed-door deposition before the House Oversight Committee, the same committee that had spent the previous day grilling his wife, Hillary Clinton, for hours on the very same subject. 2 days. 2 Clintons. 1 explosive investigation. And the questions being asked weren't small ones. They weren't procedural. They cut straight to the heart of what Americans have been demanding answers about for years. How deep did Bill Clinton's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein actually go? What did he see? What did he know? And most critically, who was the mysterious woman in that hot tub photo? Let's start with that photo, because this is where things get deeply uncomfortable. When the Department of Justice released millions of pages of Epstein documents, buried within them was a photograph showing what appears to be former President Bill Clinton in a hot tub, alongside a woman whose identity has been deliberately obscured. The image immediately sent shockwaves through the media, through Washington, and through every living room in America. People wanted answers. Under oath, Clinton finally gave one. He claimed he did not know who the woman was. He stated he had not had a sexual relationship with her. And then, and this is crucial, he suggested that the hot tub in question was simply a public hotel pool. A public pool. Nothing sinister. Nothing secretive. Just an ordinary moment captured in an ordinary setting. Nobody in that room challenged him on it. But here's what we need to sit with for a moment. This is a photograph that surfaced inside the files of one of the most notorious sex traffickers in history, a man who kept meticulous records, detailed logs, and photographs for reasons investigators believe were deeply calculated. Nothing in Epstein's world was accidental. Nothing was incidental. Every piece of documentation served a purpose. So the question isn't just who the woman is. The question is, why was that photo there at all? Clinton came into that deposition room prepared. He had a carefully crafted opening statement, and he delivered it with the precision of a man who has spent his entire life navigating politically dangerous territory. He told lawmakers, straight out of the gate, that he had absolutely no idea about Epstein's crimes. "I know what I saw," he said, "and more importantly, what I didn't see. I know what I did, and more importantly, what I didn't do. I saw nothing and I did nothing wrong." He warned the committee they would hear him say, "I don't remember," frequently throughout the day. And he framed that not as evasion, but as responsibility, telling them he refused to speculate or guess when, under oath. "All of this was a long time ago," he said, "and I am bound by oath not to speculate." It's a masterful legal shield, technically unimpeachable, and yet, for the millions of people watching from the outside, it feels deeply unsatisfying, because we're not talking about forgetting a phone number or a date on a calendar. We're talking about a man with 27 documented flights on Jeffrey Epstein's private plane. 27. We're talking about a man whose name Epstein himself reportedly used when bragging about his role in helping to found the Clinton Global Initiative and the Clinton Foundation. These are not the kinds of connections you forget. These are the kinds of connections that define a political era. Committee Chairman James Comer had been building his list of questions for months, and after Hillary Clinton's deposition the day before, that list grew even longer. Because here's what happened during Hillary's testimony. Again and again, when pressed on specific questions about Epstein, about his visits to the White House, about the private plane flights, about the foundation connections, she deferred. "You'll need to ask my husband that," she said. By Comer's count, she said some version of that phrase at least a dozen times, so every question she refused to answer became a question waiting for Bill. And the facts that surround these questions are not in dispute. They are documented. Epstein visited the Clinton White House 17 times during Bill's presidency. 17. Clinton flew on Epstein's plane, the aircraft that federal investigators later described as central to his trafficking operation, at least 27 times, and Epstein, according to documents released by the DOJ, actively boasted about his ties to Clinton's charitable organizations. Comer wasn't fishing. He was following a paper trail that leads directly to one of the most powerful political couples in American history. Clinton also used his opening statement to defend his wife in terms that were striking for their passion and their specificity. "You brought Hillary in," he told lawmakers. "She had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Absolutely nothing. She doesn't even remember meeting him." He called her inclusion in the investigation simply wrong, saying she never traveled with Epstein and never visited any of his properties. It was a moment of genuine emotion in an otherwise carefully controlled performance. And it raises its own questions, because when a man under oath pivots to defending someone else before he's even been asked about them, it tells you something about where the pressure points are. Clinton knows this investigation isn't just about him. It's about a legacy. It's about a foundation that raised billions of dollars and bore his family's name. It's about decades of political relationships built in rooms where Jeffrey Epstein was apparently a welcome presence. Now let's talk about what Clinton said regarding the plane flights, because this is perhaps the most revealing moment of the entire deposition. He told lawmakers that had he known even a fraction of what Epstein was doing, he never would have set foot on that aircraft. He went further. He said that growing up in a household marked by domestic violence had shaped his values around the protection of women and children, and that not only would he not have taken that plane, he would have reported Epstein himself and demanded real justice, not the quiet legal settlements that allowed Epstein to operate for years after his first conviction. It's a powerful statement, emotionally resonant, carefully positioned, but it does not explain 27 flights. It does not explain 17 White House visits. It does not address why, in a world where Epstein's behavior was apparently an open secret among his inner circle, none of the warning signs ever reached the President of the United States. Either Clinton knew and is lying under oath, or the people around him knew and kept him deliberately in the dark, or the entire apparatus of power that surrounded Jeffrey Epstein was so effective at concealment that even presidents were fooled. None of those options are comforting. All of them demand answers. The deposition lasted approximately 6 hours. 6 hours of questions, answers, and strategic non-answers. 6 hours of "I don't remember" and "I didn't see anything" and "you'll need to ask someone else." President Trump, asked about Clinton's testimony on the same day, said simply, "I don't like seeing him deferred to." It was a characteristically brief statement that nonetheless captured the frustration felt by many, across party lines, who believe that the Epstein investigation has for too long been shaped around protecting the powerful, rather than delivering justice for victims. Because at the center of all of this, beneath the political theater, beneath the legal maneuvering, beneath the carefully worded opening statements, there are real victims, women whose lives were destroyed by a man who operated in plain sight because powerful people let him. Women who are watching these depositions from a distance, waiting to see if justice in this country actually means something. The House Oversight Committee has made clear this is far from over. They have said explicitly that powerful individuals will be held accountable, and the Clinton depositions are only one chapter of that larger story. There are more names, there are more documents, there are more connections to be explored between Epstein's world and the halls of power where decisions that shape all of our lives are made. The question is whether the people conducting this investigation have the courage to follow the evidence wherever it leads, regardless of which party those names belong to. The question is whether truth, in this case, is actually the goal, and the question that keeps millions of Americans awake at night, the question that no opening statement, however polished, has yet come close to answering, is simply this: if none of them knew, why did Epstein keep so many records? Stay with this story. It is not finished. It is not even close to finished. And the closer it gets to the truth, the more important your attention becomes.